Hello folks, I'm Alex, this is Alex Unabridged, and these are my plans for July. So welcome back to the channel if that is the case. Yes, time to go through some of the books that I hope I will be getting to in July. My theme for the month, seeing as I am now starting a new approach to my reading and coming up with a theme for each month. My theme for July is Game On, where I'll be celebrating my love of all things gaming through reading. Before I get to those game-related books, I'm going to whip through some of the project reading that I've got scheduled, so my science fiction, things like that. If you're just here for the game stuff, game-related books, then there are timestamps available, so do feel free to skip ahead. So, straight into the project stuff then. So, science fiction, for the somewhat hesitant, my big old science fiction project. 2 more books this month. From the great books, great movies phase of the project that we're currently in. The first one is Planet of the Apes by Pierre Boulle. This will be an audiobook via the Audible Plus catalogue. I don't think I need to go through the blurb for Planet of the Apes, do I? I think it's reasonably well known now. So yeah, this one's an interesting one. This one is one of Troy's suggestions that he originally came up with when he gave me his big suggested list of science fiction reading for the somewhat hesitant me. I will be honest, I will be surprised if I get on with this. I will rewatch the film. The 1968 film with Charlton Heston, but when I saw that as a kid, I hated it, absolutely hated it. It freaked me out a bit, and I just didn't like it at all. I didn't like the kind of the plot, you know, the general setup and stuff. It just wasn't for me. But I will go into the book with an open mind, and we'll see what I make of it. And once I've read the book, I will rewatch the movie and see if my opinion on it hasn't changed in 30 years. The second of my science fiction for the somewhat hesitant reads this month is a short story, and that is We Can Remember It For You Wholesale by Philip K. Dick, of course. This one I am really excited for. This is the short story that Total Recall was based on, was adapted from. And that's one of my favourite films ever. I love that film. The Arnie version, not the remake, not the Colin Farrell one, the original one. The remake we shall never speak of again. So I will read the short story, and then it's a great excuse, isn't it, for me to watch one of my all-time favourite films again. Not that I haven't seen it a million times already, but I will always rewatch that. So it'll be interesting to watch that once I've seen the original source material. So yeah, so can't wait for that one. Next one is my my author pick. As I mentioned in my channel update video, which is already out, I'm no longer doing this project quite as I was before, but I am still going to continue to dive into work from the authors that I had got on that original list, authors that I'd enjoyed previously, what I'd read of, although I'd only read a tiny bit. Originally, I was going to read some more N.K. Jemisin in July, but I'm actually changing that. I'm going to get to Jemison's work later in the year, for sure. But for July, I am swapping in Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is largely because I have booked an online spot to hear him speak at the Edinburgh International Book Festival in August. And I kind of want to read some more of his stuff before watching that talk. Mainly so I know his work a bit better, but also just in case, spoilers. So yeah, I want to crack on with that. Plus, I've just found myself like really drawn to his stuff like recently. I've seen, you know, various different videos, people, you know, praising his books recently. So I want to crack on with that. So I'm definitely going to read Children of Time in July. That is a no-brainer for me. In case you don't know it, here is the blurb for this one. The last remnants of the human race left a dying Earth, desperate to find new home among the stars. Following in the footsteps of their ancestors, they discover the greatest treasure of the past age, a world terraformed and prepared for human life. But all is not right in this new Eden. In the long years since the planet was abandoned, the work of its architects has borne disastrous fruit. The planet is not waiting for them pristine and unoccupied. New masters have turned it from a refuge into mankind's worst nightmare. Now 2 civilizations are on a collision course, both testing the boundaries of what they will do to survive. As the fate of humanity hangs in the balance, who are the true heirs of this new Earth? Now, I know a little bit about this, space spiders, you know, but that's about it. But, you know, it's one that continuously gets high praise from everywhere I kind of, you know, everywhere I look. So I definitely want to crack on with that. The second Tchaikovsky book I'll pick is kind of still to be decided. I do own The Doors of Eden, which is a standalone, and kind of sounds like it's about the discovery of a portal to parallel Earths, a portal on Bodmin Moor, which I love the idea of. So I do want to get to that at some point soon too. But if I end up loving Children of Time, which I suspect I might opt to crack on with that series and just keep going in that series and go and, you know, read Children of Ruin instead, and just keep going and get through that series quickly. Not rushing it, mind, but just, you know, keep the momentum. So I'll see on that one when I've read Children of Time. But there's definitely going to be, you know, a couple of Adrian Tchaikovskys to look forward to in July. So that's my project reading out of the way. So rest of the month then, and this theme of game on. So yeah, if you didn't already know, I am a huge fan of gaming. It's the hobby that I put the most time into outside of reading. And so I thought, what better than to combine my 2 great passions in life and have a go at some quite different books than I would usually read as well. By gaming, I mean video games, obviously. That's where like the majority of my stuff kind of lies. But, you know, this could also encompass tabletop RPGs, tabletop role-playing games, tabletop war games like Warhammer, which also crosses into the video game space and obviously into the book space massively. But could be board games, anything like that. I've given myself some prompts for this as well. I haven't made this a full-on like event, you know, open publicly, announcements, all that kind of stuff, purely because I just don't have the time at the moment to do all the organising for a proper event like I'd like to do if I was going to do it properly. But it absolutely should go without saying that if anybody wants to join me on this, then please do. I would love it if anybody wanted to come in and do, you know, read any game stuff, do any of the prompts, whatever. If you do, you are most welcome. And if people are interested and think that it might make a good event for next year, then I will do it as an event next year, potentially. So my prompts and the possibilities for them then. The first one, read a book that a game has been based on or that's inspired a game. First up, we've got Roadside Picnic by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. This follows a guy who is a stalker, who is someone who goes into these very dangerous zones left behind after aliens have come down to Earth and then gone again. So it's kind of first contact with a difference. And yeah, he goes into these zones and finds these mysterious artifacts to sell them on the black market, basically. I mean, it's inspired the film Stalker, Tarkovsky's film, and a game of the same name, Stalker, which is made by a Ukrainian development company. There's a second one coming out soon-ish, I believe. But also a game came out this year called Pacific Drive, has obviously taken a hell of a lot of inspiration from this as well. And this is one that's been on my list for a while to read, Roadside Picnic. So I think it's a good opportunity to read that, and then I will play Pacific Drive probably after I've read it. I've been holding off on playing that until I've read this one. The second possible on that list is Monkey King, Journey to the West by Wu Sheng-en, translated by Julia Lovell. This one will be an audiobook that I own. Yeah, I mean, the classic, I think, of, classical Chinese literature. I keep hearing things about this. It sounds fantastic. It sounds really interesting. And there is a game coming out very soon called Black Myth Wukong, which is somewhat based on Journey to the West and the Monkey King. So yeah, I really like the look of that. So I want to read the original, the text that has inspired that before I go into the game, because I think there's probably going to be quite a lot of lore and myth within the game that I could benefit from knowing a little bit of the where that's come from. Okay, prompt number 2 is to read a novelisation or a tie-in to a game. There are hundreds of options for that I could have picked. There are graphic novels all over the shop, and there are plenty of novels as well. But I have narrowed it down to 3. The possibles for me are Bioshock Rapture by John Shirley. This is an audiobook. This one I find an interesting one because it actually is, it works both ways in terms of Bioshock itself was very influenced by, and is a, commentary on the writings of and philosophy of Ayn Rand. There is a hell of a lot of referencing in the game to Rand's work. And so there's that element of an influence coming in from writing, from books, into that world. And then this is a tie-in, kind of a prequel. This looks at why and how Rapture, the city, the underwater city in the game, in Bioshock, how that was set up and why, and also then how it fell. Because when you find it in the game, it is, not in good shape, should we say. Bioshock is an incredible game to watch. I have tried playing it. It is too tense for me. I don't do well with anything that's a little bit too tense, got an edge of horror to it. It's a bit much for me to play, but I have watched all of the Bioshock games played from beginning to end, to get the story elements of it and to get that kind of stuff that's in there, of kind of Randian thought. And certainly a critical commentary on it. So yeah, I'd definitely be interested to read this one and look at, see what John Shirley does with the themes in it. The other 2 that I've got as possibles for this are both Warhammer books. So I've got Xenos, which is the book 1 in the Eisenhorn series. That's Warhammer 40k. That's by Dan Abnett. And the other one that I've got is Troll Slayer, which is Warhammer Chronicles, and that's by William King. And that's kind of the first book in the Gotrek and Felix sort of series, but this is a book of short stories. This is much more kind of traditional fantasy-led type stuff, as opposed to Warhammer 40k, which is kind of science fiction, fantasy, dystopian type stuff. So I'd like to try and get through both of those if I can, just to get kind of an idea of the different tones and things like that, but what the lore crossover is and things like that, if there's anything like that. I've really got into to learning about the lore of Warhammer, It's fascinating stuff. Some really good YouTube channels out there, and Andrew from It Came From The Page knows, knows his stuff on the Warhammer books. He reads a lot of them. So I want to get into the books a bit more. So yeah, so there's 3 there, 3 books there that I could go for the novelizations or tie-ins. Okay, so the third prompt I've got is read a book that features a game or game-related elements in some form. So I've got a couple for this. First of all, I've got 0 Lives Remaining, a haunted arcade story. This is a novella by Adam Cesare, or Cesar. This is about a guy who has died and his ghost is trapped in an arcade machine, and everything's fine until one day he defends someone in the arcade against bullies, and it all starts to go to kind of supernatural chaos from there. So yeah, that one should be fun. It's nice and short, and Adam Cesare is a name that I've come across a few times before, and thought, yeah, this is a good chance to try something short of his. So next up, I've got How to Defeat a Demon King in 10 Easy Steps by Andrew Rowe. This is a lit RPG. So a lit RPG, if you've not come across this before, they are books where the stories involve kind of elements of role-playing games, so stats, levels, classes, things like that. And the characters in the books are usually aware of the existence of these game mechanics. It's like, they are used by the characters in the book as part of the story. These are not like Choose Your Own Adventure or anything like that. The game is very much within the story as opposed to something that you play. So How to Defeat a Demon King in 10 Easy Steps. I think this is, it's described as an affectionate parody of classic Japanese games like Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy, and Dragon Quest. So yeah, game mechanics exist in the world of the story, and the characters are aware of their existence. So yeah, nice bit of fantasy paying homage to some great Japanese games. And the final one that I've got on the list, and this is largely just because I think this sounds bonkers, that is Deepwater Dungeon, a lit RPG by Ryan Rimmel and Bo Hagen. This is a lit RPG about a crab that gains sentience and access to game systems. Yeah, I can't not give it a go, really. It's that sort of bonkers that I just kind of went, well, I need to read this just to find out what on earth. Really, so I'll report back on that, whether that's as amusing as it sounds or not. See whether it lands. Okay, prompt number 4 then is read a non-fiction book about or related to games. Okay, first possible is a book called Fallout, A Tale of Mutation by Erwan Lafleuriel. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Yeah, this is a look at the making of, inception of, etc., the Fallout series, and covers all of the Fallout games up to and including Fallout 4. This was published before Fallout 76 came out, and so it doesn't include that. But I haven't played Fallout 76. I'm not particularly interested in Fallout 76. I'm not a multiplayer fan, very much a single player person. And Fallout generally is my all-time favourite series of games. I have played all of them, not necessarily finished all of them, but I've played all of the games apart from Brotherhood of Steel and, as I say, Fallout 76. Although I probably will give that a try at some point. But yeah, I just want more Fallout. I am a bit of a, I am a pretty hardcore fan of it. So I think I'll just find this fascinating, and just, it's a fan thing really, this one. Definitely up my street. I'll take any kind of Fallout stuff that I can get. And the other book that's a possibility on this one, and again, this is just one where I kind of went, what? Is a self-published book called Life is an RPG by Roman Gaines. And this essentially is a self-help book. and it's about taking elements from games that as gamers we enjoy and are kind of task oriented, but because we're doing those stuff in a game format and making everything a game, they are enjoyable. Like, there's plenty of things you do in games which would be boring in terms of their real life kind of equivalent component. When I play a game, I spend hours organizing stuff, and I hate doing that in real life. The things I do in games are absolutely, I find enjoyment in them because they're part of a game and because they're part of a quest or a structure. And this book kind of takes that and says, well, what if we apply the game mechanics and the questing elements of games and stuff like that, the rewards, things like that, to real life to make you more productive? Now, whether this will be of any use whatsoever, or whether I'll just find it infuriating like I do most self-help books, remains to be seen. But I just find it quite interesting. I find it quite an interesting concept, interesting idea of trying to take some of the stuff from games and import those kind of task-oriented kind of structures into real life. Let's give it a go and see what I make of it. If it's no good, I don't have to finish it. But we'll see. I'm willing to give it a chance. I'm intrigued. So the final prompt then is read a book that is a game. Yeah, we've got to have this on there, haven't we, really? So, choose your own adventures, that kind of stuff, solo role-playing game setups. I am actually going to go for a game book, which I didn't even know existed until I saw them very, very recently on one of Andrew's vlogs. It came from a page where he played one, and I thought, oh, well, that sounds interesting. So I went off and searched on Kindle Unlimited, and lo and behold, I found one. I found a couple, but the one I've picked is one called Balance of Fate, and it is Savage Realms Game Book #1 by Troy Anthony Shermer. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure in some respects, but you build a character. You have a character sheet and you build a character with stats and things like that. You roll a dice during combats to determine the outcome of battles with enemies. I guess it's kind of sort of role-playing game light in some respects. So I'll give it a go. It intrigues me. I like a game. I certainly like a role-playing game. I'm big on my role-playing games. So yeah, let's give it a crack and see what it's like. See what that's about. So there we go. Those are my potentials for my month of game-related reading. As I say, if you want to join in with some of this reading, then please do. I'm always up for discussing gaming stuff with folks. So I think that's everything in terms of my possibles for July. Thank you very much for watching, folks. As always, do drop your thoughts in the comments below. Always good to hear from you. I will be back on Sunday with my wrap up on a couple of Becky Chambers books I've read in June. So I do hope you will join me then. But from me, for now, that's ta-ra.